Howdy. I figured I could sit down and talk about Jesus for a few minutes. I thought that'd be cool. It's the end of the night. It's almost 10 p.m. and I have to go home to go sleep and then be back here tomorrow. Um, I have been wrestling with a few things, a few concepts, ideas, and stuff, and also just making a point to. I think I've just been just having the realization of how lukewarm I used to be with my faith. And I've been wrestling with a lot of ideas on what should actually change in my life, what shouldn't, or what does need to change, what doesn't. But there's a lot of things I wrestle with mentally that one thing I think about with my whole walk with Christ is um, finances is a really huge thing that I think the Lord places on my heart, where I should and need to understand like all of it, the whole dynamic of like how to invest money properly, um, you know, coming up with all these different strategies for like saving and investing and all that good stuff, and how to just make boatloads of money every year. There's a lot of that I think the Lord has placed on my heart, but that's just not. I'm not trying to turn this video into here's a bunch of stuff about money. Um, I think about oh, you know what? Actually, here's something that's really been on my mind lately. I forget which verse it is, but it talks about how some people are built and created as a vessel of destruction, and that's all they will ever be in this life. That really, I forget, man. I really wish I could just whip out the name of that verse, but anyone that's relatively familiar with the Bible, um, I'm pretty sure you stumbled across that verse, and it's probably like really stumped you to think, what? But God created some people to be vessels of destruction. I don't think that's ever really talked about. Also, there's people that there's people God selected as His chosen people, and then God just didn't select other people. So those two things have been really on my mind. I've thought about that um, over and over and over. I've been thinking about that ever since I came across that verse a few weeks ago. Maybe it's close to a month now. But isn't that fascinating that there are people that are made just vessels of destruction? You know, it's like Judas. You know, he was made for betraying God, betraying Jesus. How wild is that? How wild is that? And it makes me think, and you kind of go down a rabbit hole and spiral. You're thinking, well, wait, why though? Why were they made for that? How are they made for being a vessel of destruction? Um, and there could be stuff that I'm missing, or whatever. But I mean, think about that. There are people that are God's chosen people, and then there are people who are not. How wild is that? I mean, we already know for a fact that it says the road to heaven is very narrow, the gates of hell and everything like wide open. So like we already know for a fact that way more people are going to hell than there are to heaven, right? I could be wrong on that, but I think I'm not. Um, that type of stuff has been in the back of my mind actually. Being able to sit down and like just say this and blurt it out loud, it's been on my mind a lot. It makes you wonder and question like, well, where am I at? You know, and I really have a heart that cares for being right with the Lord. Like don't get too crazy with trying to unravel that. I just mean that I want to have a relationship with the Lord. I want it, and like even from a year ago to now, the jump has been pretty substantial from where I was at to now. I fell off pretty bad. But like there wasn't anything insane that I was doing. It's just there was a lot of like, like prayer life didn't exist. I've been getting back into that. I'd say over the past 4 months, ever since June or yeah, like June. I've been getting back into actually doing that, And I probably stopped doing that for like over 2 years. I mean, don't get me wrong. There's things where you're like, Lord, I thank you. There's like smaller things that I've been doing all this time, but like even the studio space that I happen to acquire, like at the right time, I was always grateful to God, and I would say thank you. I would be like, Lord, thank you so much for what you're doing, etc. But it wasn't something where I was highly fixated on. I want to read the Bible and I want to study the Bible more. I want to be more close with God and intimate with God. Back then, that wasn't a thing, and part of it came from pain and just stuff I dealt with in life, where I figured I just wanted to make myself a toughened, more hardened version of me. And so, I neglected God. And God, so here's the three things that have been fascinating to me lately. That God made certain people as tools, or sorry, vessels of destruction. Two, there are people that are God's chosen people, and God that simply are not. Three, oh my gosh, what was the third thing? It was good. I feel like I'm doing Simplify right now. Um, the third one was good. It was good. Hold on. Oh yeah, it's that just God is eternal, and that He sees the entire timeline of like humanity and existence. He can see the timeline, just like here's where it all began. And apparently, like God just doesn't have any beginning. He doesn't have a beginning or end. Isn't that weird? Everything we know, like our whole concept of understanding, is that there is a beginning and an end. And with God, it's like that's just He's outside of that entire concept in and of itself. Isn't that weird? And that's a God that you can actually pray to. And He's like, yeah, I'll answer your prayer. Like, wouldn't you be weirded out? Like, aren't we weirded out by this? Like, not in a deranged way of, oh my gosh, you're weird, God. But isn't that strange? Because we have the understanding of the Bible. We do have the understanding of Jesus and that He walked this earth, and we have a Bible. But I mean, just going down that rabbit hole more and thinking of like, whoa, this is an actual being. You could argue otherworldly, except like we are like extensions. We're these little minion extensions of like this big gigantic, like take like a human body, like call that God, right? And then like the little atoms and stuff. It's like those are people. Or even like the idea and the concept, like we are inside the mind of God. And like God is like literally outside of it, just looking inward, and can pop in and out whenever He wants, and He is in and out because he's everywhere. But even going back to thinking of how God is, He's just this eternal being that's like outside of the whole concept of time in and of itself, and that it's just this grand being that is God. Anyone watching this is like, yeah, so, but like it cracks me up because of the reality of that. And people are just like, yeah, like nothing happened, and then we're here. That it's this grand, insane being that is like, yeah, you can pray to me and I'll help you make money next month. To me, that's like hilarious. It's actually like funny, because naturally you'd think, well, this great being, it's like that's an untouchable, like, but He's like, yeah, I'm right here with you in spirit. You're like, what? And like any other form in existence that talks about who or what God is not like that. Where it's a religion based approach to God. Like you do this, you please God, then He says you're a good boy and He gives you a slap on the butt or whatever. But God is but actually understanding that Jesus is the physical manifestation, that there's that whole thing going on. It's like that's insane. It's very interesting. It's very interesting to I don't know, like you can actually pray to God, and this is a being that like responds with you and is in communication with you and like wants you to be with them. Like how, like just think of that concept, right? Think of that concept and apply it towards like what it like. So like let's say there's a being on Mars, like alien, just whatever the idea of alien comes to you, like pretty stereotypical, right? Big head, big eyes, little body, whatever. Or maybe it's like one of the Avatar, like blue ripped hot dudes. Um, so it's a blue ripped hot dude on Mars, and he can like talk to you, and he's like, "You can pray to me, man. I already know what you're going through." Like he knows everything about you. Ripped blue hot dude. Just bear with me for a minute. This is getting sus, but like just and they're everywhere. They can also like they're out of the whole concept of time and space in and of itself. You're like, what? I really just equated God to like a blue hot man with abs. I really just did that. Okay, that's weird. But I'm just saying, like, put that in any other context, right? Put it in any other form of context where we're talking about like this being that is like grand like that. So like blue hot dude on Mars can also just like, by the way, he created Mars. You're like, what? Oh, he created our entire solar system. Oh, he actually made the whole galaxy. It's like, bro. So those, I'm just saying stupid stuff. There's like no form to this. uh, I don't know. I think the big takeaway is that if God is real, if this being is actually legit, like Jesus is who Jesus says he is and was and will be. I think there should be more of a fascination among people with that. And I feel like people will commercialize it sometimes. Because you hear some of the corniest like Christian worship songs on the radio and you're like, we can do better than this, guys. A lot of, like there's a lot of different thought processes I have about it. But the main three I mentioned earlier really been on my mind, and just like this grand being is so vast, and it's like, whoa, man. Like I can actually pray to you and talk to you, and you will like be there with me. So that's, and he wants us to take rest in him. Like I keep trying to look at this camera, and then like I just see myself, and I'm like, I kind of look good, so I naturally am just like, all right, whatever. But yeah, like just understanding that, like the whole concept of that God is just incredible. Um, I don't know. I'm just trying to share that. I just wanted to share that it's like, yeah, I'm really grateful that we actually get to have a relationship with this God, this being, and that they've made themselves known to us and who they are. It's like we're a little minion extension, like I mentioned earlier, of them. It's like God made us in his image. And, Jesus. I don't think God only had the option of saying, I'm going to have a man, like a human man, be Jesus. Like, we're going to human Jesus you. What if he showed up as like literally an angel? And like, how crazy whack those things are described as? It's like, here's a wheel with like a billion eyes, and it tells you to not be afraid. Like I'm gonna shit my pants. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like that's kind of, so there's a lot of like, if you imagine if you saw that, it's like literally an alien comes through the window and he's like, don't be afraid. And you're like, I'm just saying, like, you could have made your angels a little more normal if you're trying to not scare people. It'd be like, cool. And inside it's like paralysis, I'm really not going anywhere with this video. I just wanted to share my appreciation with God, and that I'm really thankful that I believe he has sincerely called me back to just really focus in on him. Because I hit a point in life where I was ignoring God. I was putting him off. And like 4 or 5 months ago, that was when it like really started to come back into place. I'm like, you know what? Let me go to church consistently or more consistently again. Let me actually read this Bible. Let me get into this Bible. Let me study it. Okay. Let me get back into like listening to online sermons and these different pastors talk online like I used to do. And it's nice. And it's very peaceful. This video had no real form, so if anyone actually watched this, I'm proud of you. High five in the comments. This video is probably going to have like 2 views. All right, well, that's it. Bye.